Welcome to Jobs, Versions, Recipe Settings, and Dashboard.
Let's first learn about jobs. When an active recipe processes a trigger event and runs the sequence of actions as defined in the recipe logic, it creates a job. Each job holds a unique trigger event and executes its recipe logic based on the data. The job report thus provides a record of all processed jobs and can be customized to display information that is useful. To access the job report, click on the Jobs tab and you will be able to view all processed jobs. To look at the complete details of each job, click on the job that you want to view.
Information such as job ID, recipe version, status, and the date and time processed can be found here.
You can also view complete details of the execution flow, which includes the data inputs and output from every step. The job report will only retain data for a limited duration corresponding to your account's data retention policy. Workato also supports the repeating of jobs in cases whereby an error stops a job from full completion. Any job completed or failed can be rerun. Workato stores the data of the trigger event, and repeating the job will run on the latest recipe version. The job history thus only shows the last iteration through a loop. It therefore does not pick up new trigger events. The job report can be customized to display meaningful data so you can better understand your jobs at a glance. By clicking on the dotted icon in the job report page, you are able to customize your job report to display any app data from your recipe.
In this example, we have customized the job report to display the description, JIRA key, and JIRA ID, with data pills coming from the JIRA application.
You may add up to a maximum of 5 columns. You can only customize the job report when the recipe is not active.
Let's now take a look at what recipe versions are.
When you go to the Versions tab of your recipe, you will see all versions of your recipe. A new version of recipe is saved every time after a recipe is saved, and a previous version of recipe can be restored at any time. You can see the details of all versions, including the time in which the version was created, the change type, as well as the person who modified the recipe. There are 2 main types of change. Schema changes are driven by Workato when the schema of objects change, while recipe changes are driven by users actively changing the logic of the recipe. We will now look at the Settings tab of recipes.
In the Settings tab, it is categorized into 3 parts: General, Description, and Sharing. Under the General settings, you can toggle the concurrency number depending on the number of jobs the recipe processes simultaneously. Select a higher number for high-volume transactions. Below, additional resources are available that link you to your versions, dependencies, and recipe activity. Next is Description. It is also good practice to include a description of the recipe under how it works, so that others in the team can understand your recipe at a quick glance, or include any other important information. To do so, click on Edit, and you can input your desired description. And last, the Sharing section, which allows you to list your recipe on Workato Community. By clicking on List Recipe, this recipe will become public and can be accessed by the wider community through searching in the community library. Not listing it on the community will keep this recipe private and hidden to the public. Recipes are private by default. Under Share Privately using a link, you are able to share private recipes. You may click on the Copy button, which will provide a URL of the recipe together with its sharing token that consists of 6 alphanumeric characters. Users can view the recipe with the link generated.
Now, let's look at the Workato dashboard. The Workato dashboard allows users to visualize real-time data pertaining to the recipes and connections in the Workato account at a glance. This allows you to see trends across time and find outliers that directly impact your businesses. Additionally, it enables users to obtain a snapshot of the account's recipe issues and tackle them more efficiently. There are 3 main parts to the dashboard: a jobs graph for a big picture view of recipe health, which you can filter by time, recipe status, and folders to show meaningful information. Next, scrolling down, you will be able to see the recipe details table that provides for a detailed breakdown by recipe, and you can sort your recipes by status, successful or failed job counts, as well as the most recent job. Lastly, you can also look at the App Connection Overview on the right, which will show you the changes made to connections in the last 7 days.
Using what we have learnt, we will next attempt a simple scenario.